back to when you first started experiencing heroin?
I was a battered child, and I was grown up on the streets of Chicago, and I found friends on the street who were in a gang, and they called it mi familia back then, my family, the Spanish, and the gang was called the Latin Kings. And they used to use us kids to run drugs, to sell drugs, because we were kids, so we wouldn't get big sentences in Illinois, you know. So I started out doing that, and I started smoking marijuana laced with heroin. And from there, I went to sniffing it. And by the time I was 11, I was shooting.
So you started out in a gang at 9?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did it do to you? Tell me some of the feelings, some of the experiences you had.
Well, it just, smoking it and just made everything so mellow. There was no nodding out. It was just everything you looked through like rose-colored glasses. You know, it didn't make me not remember things after I came down. It just made me able to tolerate my home life and just laugh everything off, you know. Once I went to sniffing it, you nod for a little bit, and then it's like euphoria. I could perform my regular daily activities in school and then come home and use it. But by the time I got to 8th grade and I'd been shooting for a couple of years, it got harder and harder to hide it.
How's that?
Because when you shoot it, you nod out, and then you're up a little bit, and then you nod out again, and you just, you need it more often. So I would have to bring stuff to school and shoot up in the washroom. And you just, it deadens your feelings, so you really don't care about people. You just become a user, just like the drugs using you. You use everybody around you. And in 8th grade, you know, I didn't have much money, so hustling was how you made money, and stealing from your parents' purses and wallets, and just doing things that a 12-year-old wouldn't normally do, you know. It just changed my life, not for the better. I got caught transporting 5 kilos over state lines with a 19-year-old when I was, say, 13 and a half. And I got caught on the Illinois side, and they were going to give me probation, and my father said no, because it was my first offense. He said, take her. And so I got 3 to 5 in a juvenile facility.
It's been a long process, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's you know, withdrawal back in the early 70s, they put you in a rubber room, they put you in a straitjacket, and they just let you sweat it out. You don't get nothing. So all the pains that come from not having the drug, you're in a rubber room. So that was my first rehab, and it was forced. And I did my time. And I met Jesus people in there. So I was led to Christ there. You know, it was very different than being Catholic. Being able to read the Bible, and you know, it was just, and I did good while I was in there, you know, but when I got out and I went back to my old neighborhood, and things went bad very quickly. And by the time I was 17, my parents were just done with me. So when I graduated high school, I just hit the road. I just took off. No. I didn't communicate with them at all. Before I had left, I had set up my one sister's house to be robbed, and nobody was supposed to be home. And my brother-in-law had stayed home because he was sick, and they beat him very badly, and I was very ashamed. I was the one who gave them the code to the alarm system, you know. So I was ashamed. I couldn't go home. And I just, I found the people who were meeting with me in prison, the Jesus Freak people. I found them and went and stayed with them in a commune for about a year and a half, and then I did okay again. And we went to New York, and we're doing, passing out tracts. I don't know if you know what tracts are, those little books. And I was playing my guitar and singing, and then I got caught up in Hollywood and Broadway, and the more money I make, the more I did. The more money I made, the more I needed just to not be sick. I went through rehab 6 times, and those 6 times I knew before I left I was going to use again. It's just, that drug just does something to you. It just, it makes you feel like, it's sort of like a social drinker. It makes you feel like you can hide it, you know, that, but all it's doing is ruining. I couldn't remember people, faces. They just didn't matter anymore because it stole my feelings. So then I traveled with some famous musicians in the 80s, and missed my mom. My mom never saw me clean. She died in 82. The last time I went to rehab was from a man preacher who came into the Central Park. By that time I had used up all my money, and I was not traveling with anybody anymore, and I ended up homeless right back where I started in New York. This time I had a need for more and more heroin, but I didn't have the income. So I would play for a fix, and I just looked terrible. It just drained my whole life away. I didn't have a life anymore. I started cutting myself. I have scars all up and down my arms. It just doesn't, it makes you feel worthless. You feel good for a little bit, and then everything just comes crashing back in. So I went through rehab for the 7th time, but this time it was with God. And it's the only time that stuck.
You have a real melancholy tone to your voice when you talk about the past. And now you're hearing that it's coming back for young people.
And that saddens me. My life from the time I was 9 till I was 30 was things that I don't remember. And the things I do remember are things I don't want to remember because I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed at how I misused God's talent. I'm ashamed of all the bad things I did to people who cared about me, who loved me. I'm ashamed that I put up walls and never let anybody in. And I just don't want our youth to live that kind of life. It's just not the kind of life to live.
It's easy to find and it's cheap, is that?
Oh yeah. It's very cheap and it's very easy to find.
Do you suspect that's why it's come full circle?
Yeah, well, they say you live long enough, everything comes back, right? And heroin in R and in this town and with the economy and the way people, how other drugs have gotten so costly, I'm not surprised that it came back. I'm just saddened that it came back, because it's going to steal our youth's visions and aspirations, and it's just going to keep them down.
From someone who's been there, what advice would you have? What would you say to someone, a young person?
My advice would be just not to do it. Find friends that do other things besides getting high, and go to church. Find God. He's what filled the hole in my heart. I've been clean for 28 years, and that just makes me smile, because without him I was just lost. I don't want to see our youth lost. They're our future. So that's what I would say. Change your places that you frequent. Hang with people that want to make something of their lives. You know, go to school. Learn an occupation. There's sports, there's church, there's so many other things that you could do besides drugging all the time.
Do you believe that, in a way, that maybe you were meant to go through all this so that you could help other people?
Amen. Sometimes God lets us take the hard road. And I look now and I see, you know, He's used my drugging to teach at Celebrate Recovery and to reach out to people. He's used my battering to reach out to victims for victory. It's a small group we have here. And He's used my prison term to work in a prison ministry. He gave me back my emotions and my heart, and all I want to do is serve Him. All I want to do is help now. That's what I've been doing for 28 years, and I'm not tired. I'm excited.
Good for you. How long have you been in Terre Haute now?
Since 2009.
Okay. So you've been helping since 2009.
I've been helping for...
Here, I mean.
Here, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you seeing any of the young people yet that are coming forth with, I mean, it may be still fairly new in Vigo County. It's inundated the bigger cities in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yes, but
It's an urban drug. That's the bigger cities, it's where it'll hit first.
okay. So
But, you
haven't
know,
experienced it.
Indianapolis isn't very far from here.
No.
Not at all.
Chicago isn't.
No. No, but it's a little farther. You don't want to go 3 hours to get your hit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But Indianapolis is, what, an hour and 10 minutes? It's not that far away. So,
But you personally have not seen it here yet.
I've seen more meth
Okay.
so far. There's been a couple. They're not young, very, very young.
Okay.
So they're like late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
You know, but I don't. There's a lot of meth here right now.
Yeah.
But you know, once you see a couple, you're going to see more real quick,
Sure.
because then they have a connection. They bring it here.
Okay.
It's an easy drug to get rid of. It's an easy drug to sell because it's so cheap.
Isn't that amazing? Well, and they say it's happening mainly to people who are already hooked on like opiates already or painkillers and so forth. It's an easy transition.
Oh, it's very easy, especially from Oxy. It's very easy. And it's a lot cheaper than Oxy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. See, we didn't have Oxy when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on phenobarbital as a child for seizures. And so it was a real easy transition for me.
Are you having any long-term health issues because of heroin or shooting up or anything?
I have lupus,
Okay,
and it was drug-induced.
interesting.
I have diabetes because my pancreas doesn't work right because of shooting up. I take 26 pills a day and 2 shots just to be able to get out of bed. So yes, it does. You know, the young people, that time you think you're invincible, you're going to live forever, and you don't realize that the consequences are going to be so severe. I had a stroke 2 years ago. It's you know, maybe none of those things would have happened if I hadn't done it. But then I wouldn't live to tell about it either.
True.
So,
What do you see as your future?
my future?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting married. I just got engaged today. That's so, I'm going to keep doing what God wants me to do. I'm going to keep on being there for people who need it, and hope and pray all the time that it just doesn't grab our youth. I know we all have a choice, and it's our choice, but I pray for our youth to have better choices.
Very nice. Okay, anything we haven't touched on, Lyndie, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Terre Haute was a very different mission field for me. And I had went to about 29 churches, 30 churches before I came to the Bridge. I immediately, as soon as I came in the doors for the worship, I felt that I had a family, which was what I lost from all them drugs. I lost my family. I came here 2.5 years ago to the Bridge, and I just love the way that they reach out to people. They reach out to the community that is lost. Our congregation's made up of the lost. That's who Jesus came to save, the lost. And I just love the way Pastor Barry and Pastor Billy just want to keep giving back and keep giving back, because that's what I want to do. I want to serve God.